Hello, Seiiti Arata. You need to break free from the self-image that you've built in your head. This self-image is like a story that you're creating about yourself, building a character that confuses you and also people around you. This character becomes a problem when it turns into a fixed identity, a fixed list of qualities and flaws, of what you like, what you dislike. And this identity, full of labels, can be used to define who we are, as if we were a projection of that idea, who we are, who we want to be. Some people mistake this self-labeling for self-knowledge, but be careful, these are completely two different things. Self-knowledge helps us to face our day-to-day challenges, but self-labeling disturbs our life, mostly when we take our own labels too seriously. And this self-image becomes an ego character that demands a coherent narrative that ends up becoming a prison, and you need to break free from yourself. Do what you actually want to do. Don't limit yourself to your self-image. When you let go of this attachment to the self-image, you can focus on the present action. And that is how you can start to build your true personality. Now, what is this self-image? Is it the way that other people view us? Think, for example, that you tell yourself a story that you're a healthy, productive, and concerned person about the environment, right? In this example, you want people to see you according to this fixed list of characteristics. But this story doesn't mean anything if you are not actually doing something to be a healthy person, productive, concerned with the environment. Your ideas, your thoughts, your intentions are worth nothing if you don't put them into practice. The way other people see you depends much more on your actions than on the narratives that you create in your head. Therefore, be detached from these stories that only exist in your mind. That is how you become free to build, through your actions, what your personality actually is. And this is a daily development that is changeable according to the nature of the dynamics of life. It is not a fixed list of labels that you have to impose yourself to. I'll give another example to make myself clear. Imagine someone who tells themselves that they are very healthy people, right? So this person has a self-image of someone who eats well, practices sports, rests sufficiently, and this person eats well from time to time, is enrolled in a gym, goes to bed early, and loves, bragging on social media, telling other people about every time they do that. But in real life, in practice, the number of times actually that this person eats junk food is actually greater than the amount of healthy meals that they eat. The number of times that this person is not going to the gym is greater than the amount of times that they're going. The number of times that they're lying in bed just watching TV very late night is greater than the amount of times that they go to sleep early. That is, besides creating a narrative of seeing herself as a healthy person, in practice, this rarely occurs. That person's real actions build a personality that is not as healthy as the mental story suggests. There is incoherence between the self-image and what actually happens in practice. This is the prison that we create. Self-image is a constant judgment that gets in the way of your capacity to take action. You know when you're about to do something new, but then a voice appears in your head and you get paralyzed remembering who you actually are. Your self-image is always looking, criticizing, judging everything that you think about doing. And this excessive judgment a lot of times can lead to paralyzing, preventing you from taking action in the real world. Self-image can imprison you in the world of ideas. You realize that you are too attached to your self-image when you keep trying to figure out who you really are through a mental analysis of your weaknesses and your strengths. But that analysis is an illusion. You only know who you really are when you analyze your own actions. Usually the stiff kind of person suffers from this problem. Taking yourself too seriously, staying attached to this ego, centering only on you, that is the perfect recipe for suffering. And we think that this self-centering will bring knowledge, but the true self-knowledge comes when you objectively analyze what you're doing in practice, in the present moment. When you take yourself too seriously, you think that you always need to stick to the same script for the rest of your life. And the other associated problem is taking other people too seriously as well. If you're always some type of way, when you dare to change a little bit, people around you will get weirded out. And by fearing that other people might think something negative about you, you actually prevent yourself from doing what you actually want to do. That is why you need to free yourself from these labels that limit your capacity of taking action. If you spent 30 years of your life acting in a certain way and you gained certain characteristics associated with this kind of action, if you stop acting that way, these same characteristics will go away. And that is the dynamic nature of life. It doesn't fit a self-image prison. The self-image prison is broken when you free yourself from this idealized self. You are not the story of this idealized person that you created in your mind. Instead of that, you are what you do. Each decision that you take is like a vote that you place in a ballot box of the personality that you're building. The focus on decision-making is liberating. It doesn't matter what your plans for the future are, much less what you did in the past. The only thing that matters when you're building your personality is right now, the next decision, your next action. Therefore, each moment of your life is a possibility of choice. It is a new chance that you get close to the person that you want to be. And this new chance is wasted when you worry too much about your self-image of what other people might think. And you realize that you're too attached to your mental narrative when, before a moment of decision-making, you end up paralyzed. You're stuck in a mental world of thoughts that you created upon yourself. This is the prison of labels that you need to free yourself from. This prison prevents you from acting. The lack of action is very common to those who try to fit into the idealized you. Therefore, avoid being a fixed character with a defined list of characteristics and preferences and addictions and virtues. Instead of this, free yourself from your ego. You have total liberty to act at any moment in a way that is best for you. Guide your actions according to your personal values to improve your decision-making. So now that you understand why you need to break free from yourself, the question is how to do this in practice. And the best way to do this is realizing when you are in a world of ideas and bringing your actions back to the concrete world. Your thoughts don't dictate who you are. Your actions do. Therefore, whenever you catch yourself thinking something like, oh, I should do that, I'm like this, try to leave this mental world and focus on acting in the present moment with mindfulness, with focus. Watch these thoughts go by, but don't embark on them. Stop thinking about who you should ideally be. Start acting in the best way that you can be in the present moment. Because when you free yourself from this self-image prison, you become a more true, authentic person that generates results in the real world. And to choose the best action in each moment without getting stuck in some kind of an idealization of the self, you have to guide your decisions through a simple and dynamic list that contains your personal values. You have to have in mind the things that you value the most in this moment and try to always act according to this scale of virtues. While the self-image tends to be a fixed portrait of yourself, the scale of what you most value in the moment is something that changes over time. It is much more adapted to the dynamic nature of life itself. So, in the face of a concrete situation, only think about what is best for you to do right now, considering that you value the most in the moment. Avoid imprisoning yourself from what your ego determines that you should be like this or you should not be like that. Now remember, in practice, you're not what you say you should do, you are what you do. You are not your self-image. You're not a list of characteristics. You're not a fixed character that is presented to the world through a narrative. You are just a sequence of actions. To improve who you are, focus on making better decisions that you can in the current context, according to your personal values scale. Living like this, in the present moment, with mindfulness in what you're doing, you break free from this judging prison of the self-image and you stop living in a past that is gone or in a future that never comes. If you need help in building your personal values scale, now I prepared a special class from the Planning Your Life course for you to identify your values right now. And to watch this class, you can access arata.se/your values.